Here's the problem why we can't win. We as conservatives, labeled as conservatives, can't win.
Mhm.
I was looking at this quote by this Riverside teacher out here. Riverside is a city out here in Southern California. And she calls heterosexuality a travesty, a horrible, horrible thing, right?
Yeah.
And so everyone looks at it and go, okay. And if I said, homosexuality or transgenderism is a travesty, I would be labeled a homophobe, a transphobic. They would get me off the air. There'd be people coming after me with pitchforks saying I'm crazy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The playing field just isn't even. They can say whatever they want about conservative people.
Right.
But if I say one bad thing about, liberal ideas or things they're trying to project, I'm labeled a racist, a Nazi, or everything else. And I just don't get it. I mean, somehow the media or whoever has labeled these things as horrible, horrible, horrible things. And it's just people thinking, I think they're idiots.
What do you mean you don't get it? This is
Yeah.
just like being married.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like,
You give your wife all this nice, logical, laid out argument about something, and it's just that they just call you a name.
Yeah,
You're in trouble for the rest of the week.
But at least when you're being married, they won't hate me for the rest of my life, and they won't try to, destroy me. She'll get angry for half an hour, get over it, and think, all right, They won't literally try to destroy everything that I have in my life.
Well, this is again, I know I sound like the tinfoil hat wearing guy, but this is what Marxism does. How do you think Marxism wins? They can't win by persuasion. Yeah. They can't win by well thought out, reasoned arguments because their ideas are terrible. It creates an aristocracy. It creates a group of ruling elites and serfs. That's what Marxism is.
Yeah.
Serfs and ruling elites. That's it.
And that brings me into this Robin Hood thing. The one with the GameStop trading stocks.
Yeah.
The guy from Econoday, he wrote that the GameStop thing is a sophomoric prank, right? And I'm looking at it like it's way more than that. It's like you got all these hedge funds. Because what happened basically was these huge hedge funds went in. They said, we have a feeling GameStop's going to drop. And what we're going to do is we're going to bet on that. So we're going to bet that their stock drops to X amount of dollars, right? So these hedge funds, which are huge multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, right? They bet GameStop's going to drop. So what people on Reddit did who love GameStop is they said, hey, if they do that, they're going to put GameStop out of business because GameStop doesn't have a huge capitalization. GameStop's a small guy. They're a big company, but compared to these hedge fund people, they're a nobody, right? They're a flea they're trying to brush off the table.
Right.
So what these Reddit people do is say, hey, let's buy GameStop on Robinhood and all these other, quote unquote places you can trade as a small investor, right?
Yeah, for the regular person.
Yeah, for the regular person. So what they did was they started jacking the GameStop price up, right? The hedge fund people panic because what they have to do is they don't really buy the stock. They just short it, which they mean they bet on it going down. So eventually they're going to have to pay that money out. But while they don't pay it out, they're paying interest on it. It's costing them money while they hold on to it.
Right.
So they're paying a lot of money. So what they do, is they go, hey, wait a minute, this isn't fair. This is illegal. You can't do it. So what they did was they talked to the government, the people they pay millions of dollars to, and they twisted their arm where they're going to have, they're going to block these things. So what Robinhood and these other guys did is they started blocking the small investor from doing the GameStop investment, right? So how is that fair, right? These big, huge companies can do whatever they want. They can't do insider trading. That's their argument. We can't do insider trading. It's like, well, you are basically, right? What it is like trade. Remember the movie Trading Places?
Yeah.
Okay, remember when the guys buy the orange juice? The
Yeah.
big, well, what's their name? I forget the family name. But they
Yeah.
buy the orange juice. So everyone looks at them and go, oh my God, the brothers are buying orange juice. We have to get in on this.
Yeah.
So they all start buying orange juice, right?
Right.
So what was happening with GameStop short. They see these huge hedge funds shorting GameStop, so everybody else gets in the game. So
Right.
now the small guys, they go in and they start buying GameStop and make it go
Right.
the other way. And
Right.
then they want to change the rules. They're like, oh, no, wait a minute. We're
Yeah.
losing money. We need to change the
The
rules.
Reddit guys didn't do anything different than
Yeah.
the Wall Street guys do.
Yeah. They didn't.
It's the same thing. It's just
You
those
can
guys are an outsider group.
you can label them what you want. They bought the stock legally. And
Mhm.
there's no reason why it should be blocked. The only reason it's being blocked is because these huge hedge funds companies, which have the power and which have the money, are trying to stop them.
Right.
That's why.
And
And
they're
that's
trying,
what,
most importantly, they're trying to protect their little kingdoms where they're barons and earls and dukes,
yeah.
and they all live in their elite ruling class
Oh, the
kingdom.
Dukes. That was the name of the family and trading places.
Yeah, yeah,
The Duke brothers. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what happened with Trump. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why politics on both the left and the right in DC freaked out,
Yeah.
because Trump was an outsider.
Yeah.
You guys from the outside are not allowed in. This
That's
is
why
our
Pelosi
world.
was angry for 4 years. Right
Yes.
after Trump gets out, her husband bought that huge block of Tesla stock. The
Yeah.
next day, Biden announces that energy policy that he's
Yeah.
going to do.
Yeah.
The
And the
next
U.S. government's going to buy
day.
cars. Yeah.
Yeah, literally the next day.
The next day.
And it's like, that's why she was upset for 4 years. She couldn't
Right.
make her illegal money.
Right.
And it's like, you know,
Right.
and why can't people see that? It's so obvious. It's right there. There you
No.
go.
This is why. But see, these we people, and there have been millions of us. See, my awakening came in college. In college, I remember sitting in college in the quad, and I was reading. There were two things going on at the time, and I had to buy the New York Times at that time. I had to subscribe to it for two classes I had, and I had to read the entire A section of the New York Times to prepare for these classes. So I was reading the New York Times, and I remember the stories that kept coming up were the hole in the ozone and how it was being destroyed by CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons. And the other one was we're destroying 10,000 acres per day of the Amazon rainforest, which 20 years earlier or 10 years earlier, it was called the jungle. Okay. They gave it a new name. See, this is how the Marxists do it. They change the way you talk about things. A jungle nobody likes. A rainforest is something everybody loves because it sounds like it's from poetry. And that's where fairies live. Okay. And that's what they did. And I remember thinking, what the hell is the hole in the ozone? I mean, I was picturing a balloon when you let the thing go and it just flies all over the room and makes a loud fart sound. I'm like, is this what's going on? And then I looked into it, and the hole in the ozone was a natural thinning of the ozone layer that happens every year for, I think it's in the month of January. It happens every year, and it's a thinning. And then it goes back to normal for the rest of the year. It only lasts for like 14 days or something like that. And so I'm like, well, that's not. And how does my deodorant in Boston get? And the hole in the ozone also was over Antarctica. And I'm like, how does my underarm deodorant destroy the ozone? It doesn't make any sense, especially when I learned that chlorofluorocarbons are heavier than air. So I spray it on my armpits in the morning in the bathroom. It drops to the floor, climbs up the wall, jumps out the window, crawls across the ground all the way down to Antarctica, and then jumps 18 miles into the air and destroys. It's ridiculous. And so I started seeing this, and I started seeing things that were ridiculous. But everybody else is just going, well, those colorful frogs, and yes, they're poisonous, but they're beautiful. And we're going to put them in a coloring book so children learn to color the colorful frogs. And that's it. The other thing, too, 10,000 acres a day. I remember sitting thinking, Brazil? This is happening in Brazil, in the jungle? Who has that kind of efficiency to destroy 10,000 acres a day? I mean, it was absurd. The notion was absurd. So they don't give you the whole story. They just give you a little part of it. what they were actually doing what Brazil was actually doing was producing fertile farmland, because they got people they got to feed, and they got
Mm,
an economy they got to maintain, and that's part of their natural resources. Let them do it. Nobody
mm,
complains when we plant corn in Kansas. You
yeah,
know, oh, where are the trees in Kansas?
yeah,
That's the thing. It's absurd, and
yeah.
people are, thanks to Trump, people are waking up,
Mm,
and they're not. Once it's impossible to go back. It's impossible to. Again, it's like it's the Matrix.
yeah.
Once you've been red pilled, you can't just go back.
Yeah,
You
I saw
know.
this quote by MSNBC. They're talking about the Miramar coup, right?
Oh,
Which is
yeah, yeah,
Burma, basically,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And basically they're saying it's like, oh, that this is what happened with Trump. This is what would happen with Trump, because you have everyone else not believing the coup, right? And I'm
Mm,
thinking, wait a minute. You have 80 million voters for Trump who no longer believe the media and no longer believe the government. And you're telling me this is exactly the same thing as Miramar?
yeah,
That's ridiculous. I mean,
yeah.
they're comparing the two. It's like
Well,
you're crazy.
here's the other thing too that people really need to be concerned about, and I really believe this right now. Trump is gone. Okay,
Mm,
Trump isn't on social media. He has been silent for a
yeah,
month.
yeah.
Okay, he is gone, and the media, CNBC, ABC, CNN, all of the alphabet media, they they don't have they don't have like a scapegoat that they can go at with Trump anymore.
Mm,
And the new one is us.
mm,
Those of us that had the audacity to vote for Trump,
mm,
we are now domestic terrorists that
mm.
need to be dealt with.
Yeah.
That is what is going to continue to happen. People will be losing their jobs. People will continue to lose friends.
Mm.
And this, we are going to be vilified. We can't. AOC just did this where she was saying that she feared for her life and she was about to be murdered. And then she comes out yesterday and she's like, and what did she say? I was just waiting for this. I am the victim of sexual abuse.
Oh, there you
No
go.
shit.
I knew that one
Yeah,
was
there
coming.
and now once that's what happens when you have all these women coming in and taking over in positions of power.
Yeah,
Once they say they're victims of sexual abuse,
yeah, it's
they can
over.
no longer ever be criticized
Yeah,
ever again.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it comes to your original point that you started this phone call with, is they can do it to us,
Yeah.
but we can't do it to them.
Oh,
And
yeah.
all they have to do is call you a Nazi or call
Hmm.
you a misogynist or a homophobe or an Islamophobe, whatever phobe they want to call you. All
Hmm.
they have to do is do that, and your words mean nothing to them. And
Oh,
they
yeah.
can't, and
Zero.
even worse, they can't be heard. And
You're
Silicon
like
Valley is
you're like
absolutely
John Doe,
flat.
accused of sexual assault on AOC.
Yeah,
Says,
yeah,
it's always
yeah.
that label now. It's
Hmm.
like, wait a minute, that's not true. Like this guy, what was it? He lost his contract or something because he was accused of sexual abuse or something.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's like, well, he was accused of it. Whether he's right or wrong, I don't know,
yeah.
right? But it used to be, guilty until proven guilty, or innocent
And
until proven guilty. Well, that's no longer true anymore.
no, no,
He's been accused
especially
of it. So some lady came out, accused him of sexual abuse, and he loses all of his stuff. I
yeah,
go, wait a minute, that's not right.
yeah.
you know,
They
at
did
least let him go through the
that
courts.
recently. They're doing it to Marilyn Manson right now.
Yeah,
Now,
that
don't
was it. That was it. Marilyn Manson. That was
Yeah,
it.
don't
That's
get
what I
me
was thinking.
wrong. I'm not saying that these guys, Johnny
Yeah,
Depp and Marilyn,
he's a weirdo.
yeah, they're pieces
Marilyn Manson is a
of shit.
weirdo.
I'm not saying they're pieces of shit,
Yeah,
but this is clearly a calculated thing. Now, my thing with AOC is these people, Johnny Depp and Marilyn Manson, they're just celebrities. Who cares what
yeah,
happens to them? I really don't care. They're
yeah,
fine,
yeah,
But with AOC, she's in a position of authority and leadership and has access to information, secret information, security information, all this stuff. And she's clearly emotionally unstable. But
yeah.
the problem with AOC is, um, I'm sorry, I lost lost my
Yeah.
train of thought. But she is in a position of authority. We can't, her what she says matters. I want AOC to come out and name friggin' names.
Yeah. Who
Don't
did
you
it?
come out here and say you're a victim of sexual assault and
Yeah,
then just go, but I don't want to hurt him because I.
yeah,
No, that tells me That guy doesn't exist.
Yeah, I know you're lying.
Just bring him out,
Yeah.
put his face out there, and let him face the music. And that happened before with, I think it was Lena Dunham. She
Uh-huh.
accused some guy that in
Oh
college.
yeah, that was a few years ago.
Remember
Yeah.
that? And she
Yeah.
read, and then people started to put together based on the statement she made about it, like who the guy could possibly have been. And
Uh-huh.
they revealed this guy. And this
Mm.
guy's like, "What are you talking about? I had nothing to do with this broad." You
Mm.
know, this
Mm.
is it's a horrible thing, and it is. As long as a completely reasonable response to a point, an argument you're making is you're a Nazi.
Mm.
You're right. From the beginning of this call, we can't win. We
Yeah.
can't.
You
The
literally
only problem is there are a lot of us. There are a lot of us that know that this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And the Reddit guys are like that. They know that Wall Street is bullshit, and they're not going to just sit back and take it.
Yeah.
They're not. And so they
The-
did. They
the-
stuck it to them, and they lost. What did the hedge fund guys lose? Like $70 billion or
yeah,
something like that.
it was a lot of
It's
money.
a
I
lot
don't
of
know.
fucking dough.
Yeah, but you
But
still have the press saying they're sophomoric pranks, they're terrorists, and everything else.
GameStop right now is at $82. It was $3.94. A week ago?
Yeah.
82
Yeah.
bucks right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So,
Back
anyways,
to
I
Earth.
gotta go do my thing. I'll talk to you a bit.
Bye.